Forming the scientific foundation of our personal development system is the social brain theory of leadership. This theory's basic tenet is that humans are wired to be social. In order to survive in a social world, our brains evolved systems that give us the neurobiological capacity to receive, integrate, interpret, and respond to social signals and cues. Leadership is a social event, and effective leadership depends heavily on the abilities of both followers and leaders to understand, manage, and navigate this social structure.
But there are significant differences in individual social abilities. People with more receptive social brains are more likely to develop quality relationships and perform more effectively in leadership roles in all areas of their life. The Executive Oxygen Personal Development System makes use of advanced technology to help you measure, assess, and develop your social brain, allowing you to better manage its social structure and, as a result, to build leadership character. To get a better sense of how and why our social brain evolved, let's look at its origins from an evolutionary neurobiology perspective. Anthropologists theorize that beginning some 2 million years ago, our ancestors learned that communal living provided distinct survival advantages, from access to shared resources to better security against various threats. But like today, being a good group member is not always easy. An inherent conflict exists between what is enjoyable for an individual and what may be best for the social group. Those unfortunate individuals, unable to manage social relationships, found themselves rejected and pushed out of the social structure, where death was all but a certainty. Through this natural selection process, the human brain evolved 4 specific distinct circuitries for knowing ourselves, knowing how others respond to us, detecting threats from within the social group, and regulating our actions to avoid being excluded from the group. Social awareness lets us read and interpret the emotions of others and appreciate their perspective, to draw inferences from the mental states of others and to predict their behavior, to read and interpret social signals and cues. Self-awareness lets us understand our feelings, emotions, and behaviors. These circuits also make us aware of people or situations that make us angry or anxious, fearful or happy, and the thoughts and behaviors that accompany those emotions. Threat detection, to provide us with the means to understand and interpret the brain's signals that our survival might be in jeopardy, whether from lions, tigers, and bears, or because of the interactions with others in our social group. Through self-regulation, we stay calm under pressure, recover quickly from upsets, move away from rumination and brooding, avoid panic, and rectify a situation to reestablish good relations with other group members. Self-regulation goes beyond self-control, willpower, self-discipline, or even what might typically be called grit, and could best be characterized by the word resilience, implying a near-automatic return to a set point of equilibrium. Emotions like guilt, embarrassment, or shame make us aware our behavior may have violated group standards and that others are evaluating it negatively. Without them, we're inclined to be impulsive, emotional, lashing out upon the smallest provocation, blurting out the first thing that comes to mind, and engaging in whatever behavior feels good at the time.
This is what we call our social brain. The failure of any one of these circuitries would likely bring our behavior into conflict with social norms, leading to our rejection from the social group and ultimately seriously threatening our survival. This is why our brains are wired to be social.
Science shows us that our social brain develops through experience. We get better at self-awareness, social awareness, and self-regulation as we experience, as we practice meaningful social interactions. When these social interactions are absent, our social brain will not develop and may even atrophy. Unfortunately, the fundamental importance of developing our social brain is often overlooked or ignored.
Most people and companies overestimate the contribution a course on leadership makes toward building the requisite social skill base. Without an understanding of the social brain, a leadership course will not make you a leader. Because of a false sense of confidence such a course might impart, it might even make you worse. Without question, effective leadership involves more than just technical expertise. In fact, Studies show that just 10% of leadership failures are caused by a lack of technical competence. The overwhelming majority of failures, 80%, are caused by a variety of issues: mental lapses, poor decisions and judgment, distractions, inattention or lack of focus, misinterpretation of others' actions, or an inability to manage emotions. These skills are not taught in the classroom, but are clearly critical to effectiveness. These lapses, your barriers to leadership, are very likely the same barriers that prevent you from being the person you would ideally be among friends, in your family, community, and in your other social groups. We refer to this combination of critical thinking, decision-making, and behavior, particularly the ability to get along with others, as character.
Technology undoubtedly improves our quality of life, but it has also slowly eroded the development of our social brains, and as a result, our character. This has happened almost imperceptibly over the past 2 centuries, much like the frog placed in water that is slowly brought to a boil. Beginning some 200 years ago, advances in transportation allowed us to live further apart, and we thus began to have fewer opportunities to interact. Then, around 100 years ago, advances in telecommunications reduced the need to meet physically to interact and communicate. Starting around 50 years ago, information technology significantly reduced the need for face-to-face communication at all. Internet searches, email, text, and chat have all radically changed our social interactions. In sharp contrast to 200 years ago, we find ourselves with an abundance of knowledge, but meaningful social interactions are now in short supply. Despite its benefits, is technology encouraging us to hide behind devices in our social interactions? When Google digitized most of the world's literature, it revealed a steady increase in the use of the word I over the past several decades, and particularly in the last 15 years, largely at the expense of we words. What are the consequences of the increasing emphasis on the individual and the shift away from our innate social wiring? Over the past 15 years, research shows an increase in loneliness, declines in empathy and trust, an increase in the use of prescription and antidepressants, and the erosion of other key social metrics. We are increasingly becoming socially isolated, with direct consequences on important social relationships. Despite these discouraging statistics, at Executive Oxygen, we believe that we are at the very beginning of an era of technology as an awareness multiplier, an era that will revolutionize education and the way we interact with each other. Some of these very same technologies can help us revive the functioning of our social brains. By properly using technology that is designed to make us aware, we can significantly enhance all of our worlds. Through this revival of our social brains, we can all expect better quality relationships, and from ourselves become better leaders, parents, partners, and friends.